Hey guys, what is up? This is Mr. A. Crizzy here, and welcome back to a new movie review once again. In tonight's review, I'm going to be reviewing the new Martin Scorsese film from 2023 released by Paramount Pictures and Apple TV Plus, or should I say Apple Original Films. This movie was actually the very first Apple Original film I saw in theaters. And of course, this review is going to be on Killers of the Flower Moon. Killers of the Flower Moon is the new movie from Martin Scorsese and stars his frequent collaborators, Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. So, in this movie, Killers of the Flower Moon is based on the novel, and it takes place during the 1920s, where members of the Native American tribe of Osage County, Oklahoma, are murdered after oil is found on their land, and the FBI decides to investigate. And pretty much, the FBI decides to investigate the murders of the people that were killed in this film during like an oil fire. And yeah, and like I said, the movie's based on a novel. And yeah, and of course we got ourselves like a new Martin Scorsese feature film. So I actually watched more of Martin Scorsese's films recently, because I actually watched Casino, Taxi Driver, and Shutter Island, and I actually really love those movies. And the other Martin Scorsese films I've seen before last year were, I've seen The Wolf of Wall Street, The Irishman, and Goodfellas. And even this year, I also watched The Color of Money as well. And the thing with Martin Scorsese and the way he puts effort into his film work, it's actually how he basically has some very great cinematography in his films. And I gotta say, his new movie Killers of the Flower Moon is once again a 5 out of 5. Yeah, definitely a 10 out of 10, because I actually really enjoyed Killers of the Flower Moon. Killers of the Flower Moon is now my new favorite movie of 2023. Yeah, this movie tops John Wick Chapter 4 from being my all-time favorite movie of the year. Because this movie was like so awesome, and it was very spectacular, fantastic, amazing. And it was definitely cinema as well, like how Martin Scorsese mostly uses that term, cinema. And yeah, and it was also a really great theatrical experience, like experiencing this film on the big screen at Cinemark. And yeah, and of course I have my ticket here for Killers of the Flower Moon. I went and saw this movie this afternoon at 1 o'clock. Got it for my movie ticket collection. But yeah, this movie Killers of the Flower Moon is now my number one favorite movie of the year, because the cinematography was actually well shot, and it's like, and the way and like I said, the way Martin Scorsese puts effort into his films, because it's actually pretty interesting how Martin Scorsese has recently directed a Western film. Yeah, and of course he also decided to cast two of his frequent collaborators, Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. And I gotta say, the performances in this movie were actually spot on. They were actually really well done, especially Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro. They both did a real great job in this film. And I can't say enough that this is definitely one of Leonardo DiCaprio's best newer works since, I don't know, a long time ago. Yeah, and I'm sure my dad and Uncle Charles would definitely would love to see this movie together. Maybe I actually wouldn't really mind seeing this movie again, maybe for November 3rd, because I know Five Nights at Freddy's is actually coming out next Friday, and I'm also looking forward to that film. And yeah, and one of the previews I got in front of Killers of the Flower Moon was also another Apple original film starring Joaquin Phoenix, Napoleon. I mean, despite the anticipation for Napoleon, I might see Napoleon, or I might not, because I'm probably going to be more focused on seeing the Disney 100th anniversary movie Wish, since that comes out the same day as Napoleon. But yeah, this review is on Killers of the Flower Moon. So I also like how the story itself actually puts. I actually like how the story to this movie actually stays true to the source material that were used in the novel. Even though I actually never really read the novel, since I'm not much of a reader as I used to. But I know one of my coworkers at the local high school cafeteria. One of my coworkers actually has actually heard of the novel before, and she was actually looking forward to checking out this film as well. Yeah, and at first this movie was actually originally going to be released on Apple TV Plus as a streaming release, but then I guess the studio crew was thinking they should release this movie exclusively in movie theaters. And I think this movie definitely deserves its theatrical release and experience, because this was definitely a really spectacular cinematic experience, and it definitely deserves its theatrical release, because the movie's also like really long. It's like extremely long. It's like 3.5 hours, like 3.5 hours, like 3 hours and 26 minutes. If it was still released on Apple TV Plus, like who, like it's like who, I would ask who in their right mind would watch a 3.5 hour long movie on their computers or their TVs. I think for a 3.5 hour movie, I think it fits perfect in movie theaters. Yeah. This movie, and like I said, this movie was also my first Apple TV Plus or Apple original film I saw in theaters, because back in 2022, last year, I didn't see Coda in theaters after it won Best Picture of 2021, and after it expanded its theatrical release. I didn't see Coda in theaters. Not even the Skydance animation film Luck, or the Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds film Spirited, because that was actually one of the Regal mystery movies. And Luck and the animated film Luck kind of played in a little bit of movie theaters, but not mine. It's just, just in select theaters, like a limited release. But I'm actually glad Apple Original Films is starting to release more of their films exclusively in theaters more often. And it's kind of like I said, they're going to be doing it some more they're going to be doing it some more with their upcoming releases, like Napoleon. And yeah, and I can definitely tell the Killers of the Flower Moon is going to get a lot of Academy Award nominations, maybe a few, but mostly award nominations, and maybe even for Best Picture, just like Oppenheimer. Like is this movie even better than Oppenheimer? Well, I mean, just a little bit, but I still really loved Oppenheimer. Yeah, and plus I heard, Oppenheimer's coming out on Blu-ray in 4K, and in November, which I might get it for Christmas. Yeah. But yeah, it's like I loved every single thing about this movie, and I don't even have a single flaw I have, like not a single problem I have with the film at all, because this movie was spectacular and fantastic. Yeah, because besides Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, Jesse Plemons was in the film too. He plays like one of the FBI investigators, and Jesse Plemons, he was good in the film. Two other actors I know are also in this film, but of course they don't really appear in the film until the last act of the film. Like they don't appear until the last act of the film, which those two would be Brendan Fraser and John Lithgow. Yeah, John Lithgow and Brendan Fraser were in the film too. I think it's interesting. I think it's very interesting how Brendan Fraser is actually transitioning into more serious roles in more serious movies. Kind of like, just like how Brendan Fraser won an Oscar for his performance in The Whale. And yeah, Brendan Fraser was great and was really good in the film. John Lithgow was also good in the film too. Yeah. This was also my first Martin Scorsese film I saw in theaters. I got my chance to see a Martin Scorsese film in theaters. Yeah, because his last movie that came out in 2019 was actually released on Netflix only, The Irishman. And The Irishman was also a long one, but of course not as long as Killers of the Flower Moon. But it's still a very masterpiece film, and probably one of the best films that was released in 2019 as well. And yeah, and does the movie earn its 3.5 hour runtime? Well, I guess it kind of does for many reasons, because it's like how Martin Scorsese has a thing with really long run times, and it's understandable how Martin Scorsese wants to keep his films long. I mean, his earliest films, from what I've read, are actually just like an hour long. But then as when his newer work came out, the runtime started to get really longer, and started to get better and better. And of course, I actually sat through the entire movie, and I also did not get a single bathroom break at all, because I wasn't even drinking my soda concession fast at all, because I wouldn't really want to miss out on some parts that were in this film. And I think the pacing itself, I think the pacing is actually pretty well paced. Like, I mean, not perfectly well paced, but just well paced. Yeah, And of course I also got to see this movie by myself, and like I said before, I probably wouldn't even mind if I saw this movie again with my dad and Uncle Charles, because my Uncle Charles is at the beach for the weekend, and of course my dad's in camp doing fun. Okay, sorry about that, guys. It's just my mom was calling. My mom was calling me just to let me know that she's going out with her friends. So yeah. Anyway, like I said before, like as I was saying, like my dad's in camp doing fun stuff, and like I said, my Uncle Charles is out to the beach this weekend. So yeah, maybe I'm up for round two on November 3rd, since I will be seeing Five Nights at Freddy's in theaters next week. And hopefully we'll see what the plans are, and hopefully the plans work out or not. But yeah. So overall, Killers of the Flower Moon is now my all-time favorite movie of the year, and I'm gonna give Killers of the Flower Moon 5 out of 5 stars. I already mentioned this before, but whatever. 5 out of 5 stars, as in 10 out of 10. Yeah, so the movie just came out today, so and if you love Martin Scorsese's films, then I'm sure you'll definitely get a kick out of this as well. And I say I highly recommend checking out at your local movie theater near you. And of course, we're gonna put my ticket in my movie ticket collection. There you go. And there you have it, guys. That's gonna be it for my movie review on Killers of the Flower Moon. And that's going to be it for this video, so make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. And as always, thanks for watching, and until next time, this is Mr. A. Crizzy saying, goodbye everybody, and that's about it.